Welcome to Movie and Recap. The show opens up with the final men's basketball match between Sarin High School and their rivals, in which our main character Dai Young is also playing. He is one of the promising players and has the responsibility of carrying the team, as the scouts from the universities are also present to observe the players. It is an important game for Dai Young to secure scholarships for higher studies. In a flashback, we are shown a scene from before the start of the game where Dai Young's girlfriend Dejong comes to meet him. She wishes him all the best for the game and suggests he play well and impress everyone. However, Dai Young notices her worry and asks what's wrong. Initially she refuses to tell him anything, but after Dai Young insists, she reveals about her pregnancy. Dai Young is shocked to hear this but shows up to play the game in the present. Dai Young's team is losing the game. He looks around the audience but does not see Dejong among them. Without thinking twice, Dai Young leaves the game and rushes out of the court. The team coach and audience ask him to continue playing, but he does not listen to them and just leaves. Outside he meets Dejong and tells her that she is the most important person in his life and is her future. Here we get to know that Dai Young left the game to console his girlfriend, and soon they get married. Following this, Dejong gives birth to twins Xia and Shiwoo, and both of their lives revolve around earning for their family and taking care of their children. The scene then shifts to 18 years later, when Dai Young lives in his millionaire friend Go Dayak Jin's house. His relationship with Dejong is strained, and they're close to divorcing. Dai Young, having limited education, works as a washing machine repairman, while Dejong is an anchor for different media companies. Their twin children Xia and Shiwoo attend the same high school their parents did. Even though Dai Young doesn't live with them, he loves his children and takes them out for lunch. Often during these outings he asks about Dejong and assures them that once he gets a promotion they can be a family. Again, one day at work, Dai Young eagerly waits for the senior manager to announce his promotion. To his dismay, the manager promotes someone unexpected instead. This deeply angers Dai Young and he confronts the manager to uncover the truth. In response, the manager criticizes Dai's lack of education and insults his family. Enraged, Dai Young attacks the manager, head-butting him and throwing him to the ground. He then storms out of the office, declaring his resignation. Moving on, Dai Young visits an old customer whose washing machine and radio he fixed earlier. There he notices a booklet that states, "Do you want to get younger again?" In a faint voice, Dai Young replies with a yes and leaves. Later at night he goes to the high school and enters the basketball court, remembering how desperate he was to advance his career in the sport. He then grabs a basketball and wishes that God will make him young if he scores a basket. He tries multiple times but fails and misses the basket. However, when he decides to give it one last try before leaving, he scores, and with a touch of magic he becomes young. Dai Young has no idea about it and he enters a superstore nearby to get some food. To his surprise, Dai Young notices Xiao working at the counter of the superstore. Thinking he's still his older self, he scolds her for working without informing her parents and tries to take her outside, unaware that the young boy is actually her father. Xia shouts back, calling him a stranger. When Dai Young sees his reflection in a mirror and realizes he's become young, he is left in utter disbelief. He then heads straight to his friend's apartment. To his dismay, Dai Young's friend Dioxin also doesn't recognize him and urges him to get out of the building, attacks him with a couple of game gadgets, and during this time he notices their high school picture on the table. He takes the picture in his hands and compares it with a young boy claiming to be Dai Young. Shocked, the two faces appear exactly the same, and finally he gets convinced that the young boy is Dai Young, who has transformed back to his younger self. Afterward, the two friends sit together, and Dai Young asks Yak Jin the reason he turned young again. The latter clarifies that God has given him a second chance to live his life to the fullest and make everything right. At this moment we get to know that Dai Young believes that Dejong is happy with a divorce. However, he has no idea how much she misses him. She is actually happy these days because she got selected for an interview for JBC News, one of the most famous news companies in the country. The next day, Dayak-jin takes Dai Young to Sarin High School and decides to admit him there. It's the same school where Xia and Shiwoo study. During the admission process, Dayak-jin meets Dai Young's homeroom teacher and instantly falls for her. Moving on, Dai Young is placed in the same class as his daughter and introduced as Woo Young. When Xia sees him, she immediately recognizes him as the guy who annoyed her at the supermarket the night before. Thinking he's following her, she confronts him on the school terrace with two classmates. She threatens him and tells him to stay away. Seeing his innocent daughter acting like a bully, Woo Young is shocked. Later he notices his son sitting alone in the cafeteria and approaches him to give him company. Right then a group of bullies arrive there, and the leader Ja Sung, who is also the captain of the high school basketball team, hits Shiwoo with a ball and teases him. Woo Young cannot tolerate his son getting bullied in front of him and decides to teach Ja-sung a lesson. He then calls Ja-sung and showcases his basketball skill to battle him in front of everyone. All of the students in the cafeteria admire Woo Young for his behavior as he handles the situation calmly. In the next scene, Woo Young walks out to smoke a cigarette and decides to do it in the backside of the school building. To his dismay, he finds Shia there smoking alone. Seeing his daughter getting addicted to bad habits, Woo Young, acting as a father, yells at her. However, Shia does not listen to him and walks away. After this, when Woo Young begins smoking, he gets caught by one of the school teachers and is taken to the principal's room. There he tells everyone that Shia is also equally guilty as him, as she is soon brought in the office. Woo Young believed that if the teachers scold Shia, then she might stop smoking. Unfortunately, instead of scolding, the teacher begins beating her with a wooden support. Woo Young cannot see this and he asks the teacher to stop holding his hand. The teacher gets angry at his behavior and asks both of the students to call their parents. Next, Jong arrives at the office and talks to the teacher, confessing that the cigarette that her daughter used belongs to her. Right then she notices Woo Young sitting beside them and is surprised to see his appearance exactly similar to her husband's school days. She walks closer to him and examines until the teacher asks her to stay away from Woo Young. At the same time, Daeuk Jin also arrives there and claims that Woo Young is his son. Surprising to Jong in the evening after school is over, Woo Young notices the bully group behind his son and decides to follow them. To his surprise, the bully group leaves and Shiwoo enters the basketball court for practice. Here Woo Young gets to know that his son is really interested in basketball but never had courage to inform him. Knowing that Shiwoo does not have friends, he then walks up to him and challenges him to a face-off together. They play for some time and develop a kind of friendship bond. Meanwhile, Jong is roaming around with her friend Chu in the night streets of the city. There her friend suggests that she forget her worries and live life to the fullest. Following the suggestion, Dajin closes her eyes and tries to approach a guy standing nearby. During this, she nearly gets hit by a car, but luckily Woo Young arrives there in time and saves her. He then accompanies her home and on the way expresses his desire to be a basketball player. Hearing this, Jong suggests that he stay away from smoking and work hard to achieve his dream. Following Do Jung's suggestions, Woo Young begins doing exercises and tries his best to stay away from cigarettes and alcohol. He then decides that he needs to focus on his children and should assist them to make their future bright. On the other hand, Jong remembers how Woo Young saved her from getting hit by a car and finds it similar to what Young did to her during their school days. She goes to her cupboard, takes out the picture of Young and is shocked to see it exactly similar to Woo Young. Without wasting any time, she visits Joaquin's apartment to meet the mysterious boy. When Woo Young appears in front of her, she takes out the picture of her young husband and starts comparing it. Ultimately, she did do that. Woo Young must be the son of Young. However, the Okjin denies it and claims that he is his son. To defend his claims, he adds that Woo Young has a face of his mother who looks similar to Young. Jong gets confused hearing this and decides to call her husband to find the truth. To Woo Young's bad luck, his phone starts ringing, but before he gets caught, he rushes out of the house and picks up the call. He then speaks like the old Young, clearing his wife's doubts and assuring that he does not have any other son except Shiwoo. At school, it starts raining and Woo Young gets to know that Shia hasn't brought an umbrella. He then goes straight to a shop and buys two umbrellas, one for Shia and the other one for Shiwoo, which he leaves on his seat. After doing this, Woo Young feels like he's one of the best dads in the world. Scene then shifts to Jong, who is roaming around a shopping mall with Chu. While they're checking on some cosmetic products, Jong gets a message and realizes that she has been selected as an anchor for JBC. She becomes very excited and Chu also congratulates her for the achievement. Meanwhile, Woo Young also gets selected for the school basketball team and asks Shiwoo to join him. Initially, the latter refuses to take part in the basketball trials, but with continuous pressure from Woo Young, he agrees. Later, while the two are returning home together, Jong approaches them and informs her son about her selection in JBC. To her surprise, Woo Young also becomes very happy for her and they hug each other. The next day, when Woo Young is walking alone in the school hallway, he notices the bully group troubling Shi Woo. Enraged, he follows the group and challenges the leader Ja-sung to a basketball match face-off. Hearing about the face-off, the students gather around the court and cheer for Ja-sung to their surprise. Woo Young and 11 Woo put up a great effort together and ultimately win the challenge. The scene then shifts to Jong, who is waiting for her turn to get a chance to anchor a show. Right then, the director of JBC approaches her and asks her to interview a famous baseball player. Jong happily grabs the opportunity and goes out to interview the player without any script or preparation. Fortunately, the interview goes pretty well and everyone praises her performance. The next day, when Woo Young goes to the school, he notices a Group of boys making ill comments on Da Zhang's age and appearance. He proceeds to fight with the boys, but before he does so, Xia's friend Jiho attacks them. The episode then ends with Wu Yung joining Jiho and warning the bullies to stay away from him. Thank you for watching.